Police in Southern California say they've broken up a large-scale retail theft ring targeting Home Depot stores.
Called Operation Kill Switch, prosecutors in Ventura County say they have dismantled the biggest organized retail theft ring in Home Depot history. Over 600 thefts at 71 different Home Depot stores around Southern California, allegedly led by the owner of a store that would resell breakers, switchers, dimmers, and outlets. Ventura County Sheriff Jim Freihoff says those items that were not sold at the store were sold online.
Helped by selling stolen merchandise online through eBay.
14 people have been arrested. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Extreme heat across western states hampering fire crews battling wildfires. In Oregon, the flat fire has destroyed several homes, and in Montana, authorities confirmed a veteran firefighter died Sunday while battling the Bivens Creek fire. ABC News meteorologist Melissa Griffin has more.
It is still hot, and we still have fire alerts here in the Pacific Northwest. The red flag warning continues from Northern California right into parts of Oregon. Extreme heat warning still for parts of central Washington, where highs could reach up to 102 degrees today. But the good news is they're going to get relief coming.
Temperatures expected to cool off starting tomorrow. And the Phoenix airport back up and running after a huge dust storm that all but blocked out the sun. The problems it created stretched from the airport to the power grids. Arizona and Nevada could see more storms in the coming days. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird! All right!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's 4:05 on this wet Tuesday afternoon, and I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News headlines. Well, Ned Brady Hansen, the former fire chief of Tremonton, has pleaded not guilty now to multiple charges related to sex crimes. Hansen pleaded not guilty yesterday to 8 counts of aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor and aggravated sexual abuse of a child. According to court documents, he's accused of discussing and exchanging graphic sexual images of children with other adults, including former Box Elder County Judge Kevin Christensen. Now, following his arrest in January, a child under the age of 10 who had been in his care alleged that Hansen had sexually abused her on multiple occasions. Now, FBI investigators discovered that Hansen had discussed the alleged abuse in messages that reportedly matched the child's account. Now, according to court documents, Hansen allegedly described the steps that he took to ensure the abuse could be justified as otherwise normal behavior, according to his words. Christensen, meanwhile, resigned from his position as a judge in March and also has pleaded not guilty to his charges. Hansen's preliminary hearing was waived and is expected to now take place within the next several weeks. In other news, a special election is now being set for September 11th to fill Cache County Executive David Zook's position following his pending retirement. Now, Zook is expected to step down from his role on September 8th. So far, 4 candidates have filed to run in the Republican special election. They include Dirk Anderson, who has spent 15 years in the financial affairs of local, county, and state governments and is currently serving as Zook's chief deputy. Now, also running is Craig Ander, a former football coach from Green Canyon High School, Micah Safeston, who is the member of the Utah Department of Natural Resources staff and previously has had experience as a senior policy analyst for the Cache County Council. And then last of all, Ryan Doctor, who has moved to Cache Valley recently back in 2022 and holds a Master's of Science degree in genetics and biotechnology and works in biotechnology development while also serving as a stay-at-home dad. Now, the filing period for potential candidates will close on September 4th. The special election is going to be held at Ridgeline High School in Millville. And finally, a man has been arrested after he allegedly beat a teenage girl at a concert at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater in West Valley City over the weekend. Jacob David Shelley, a 47-year-old, was booked into the Salt Lake County Metro Jail on suspicion of first-degree felony aggravated child abuse. Now, according to the police affidavit, Shelley got into a physical fight with a 17-year-old girl over a viewing area. Now, witnesses, including venue staff, said that he was continuously punching the girl in the face and even continued once she was on the ground and unconscious. Now, the affidavit states that the girl sustained multiple facial injuries and also a broken nose. The West Valley City Fire Department transported her to a hospital for treatment. Well, it's been a while since we've enjoyed this kind of rain, as hasn't been much, but still quite a bit compared to, you have to go back to May 17th, the last time we've had some measurable amount of rain like today. And we're expected to continue to see showers, some thunderstorms even possible through the next couple of days, and cooler temperatures. As we've only been in the mid-70s today, tonight we'll drop into the mid-50s, and then more cool weather with showers expected to continue tomorrow, beginning to taper off by Thursday and into Friday. And weather this hour brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. They have 55 and 80-pound washers to make your stay much shorter. Located in Logan and Brigham City, it's Mount Logan Laundry, the cleanest spot in town. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News headlines. Summer has been rough, with insects taking over. Grasshoppers have come in like a wrecking ball, eating our gardens, bushes, and flower beds. Logan Extermination can help with a spray and bait treatment that will help eradicate those hoppers. Earwigs and wasps are also starting to make their mark, while spiders are letting us know that winter is near and they're already trying to move inside. Call Logan Extermination today to schedule your insect treatment and protect your home and property. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Here's what some of our patients have to say about how Red River has changed their lives.
So before I started at Red River, I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was overweight, severe anxiety. I had been to multiple doctors. We had done tests and no one could find anything that was wrong. And then a friend mentioned Red River and I went and saw him, and it has changed my whole life. I'm sleeping through the night. I have energy for my kids. I've lost 30 pounds. No more stomach pains. I just feel really good.
Our goal is to focus on imbalances that are driving your condition or symptoms, not just give you Band-Aid answers. So when a patient comes to our office, we'll sit down with them extensively and go over their blood work to find out the underlying imbalances driving their symptoms.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER. With offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
That awkward moment when your tool quits mid-project? Don't worry. Industrial Tool & Supply has your back. This is Cody with Industrial Tool & Supply. Right now, it's the summer clearance on Makita tools, and no one knows Makita tools like we do. We've been slinging tools and saving projects for nearly 50 years. Come see why we're your local source for Makita. Plus, our crew actually knows what they're talking about. Industrial Tool & Supply, where real tools meet real people.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Thank you for the overwhelming response so far for our Labor Day sale this year. Purple and Tempur-Pedic are up to $1,500 off, $99 twins and $399 queens, plus 5 years no interest financing available. We've been here 15 years, offering our 90-day sleep guarantee and 90-day price guarantee. Price, quality, service. Try finding even two of those online. Come into My Mattress today. The Labor Day sale. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency, so we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is a really nice Tuesday afternoon here in Cache Valley. I am enjoying this today. I hope you are too. The weather, it's August 26th. I'm Jason Williams. It is 69 degrees here at 4:13 in the afternoon. That is unbelievably about a 30-degree difference. Well, 25. A 25-degree difference from the afternoon. The temperatures in the afternoon the last many, many days, right? So, yeah, it's a nice break. I'm enjoying it, and I don't know if it sticks around, to be honest with you. But we do have a few days, as you heard during the weather forecast there from Will. We've got, a couple of days of much milder temperatures, and then things start creeping back up into low to mid to high 80s. And long-term forecast, I don't know. We've talked about this many times on the show. The Farmer's Almanac is one of my favorite things to go to, and I won't get into it again. People made fun of me last time I got into it, but they do some pretty fancy stuff to make these long-term forecasts through the Farmer's Almanac each year, including looking at the reproduction cycles of certain beetles that frequent cornfields. They look at many things, and they base this off of things that have happened in the past over the last 100 years. And they make some predictions long-term, i.e., how wet of a winter is it going to be, how dry, things like that. And oftentimes you have a vast disagreement between the forecasts that will come out in the printed Farmer's Almanac each year for the long-term forecast, and scientists who look at climate data and who look at, all the data that's collected about, our weather to lay out some trends. But then they also look a little bit at previous precedents set as well, and most predictable patterns that are likely to come through. And oftentimes Farmer's Almanac and the scientists will be in vastly different directions. Well, I can tell you for Utah at least, the last 4 years, the scientists have gotten it right. But one thing that is, concerning about the upcoming fall and at least the first part of winter is that this is one of those years where both the scientists of a type, at least, who work and develop the Farmer's Almanac long-term forecast, and the legit scientific forecasters that include folks at NASA, NOAA, climate departments all around the United States, including the USU Climate Center, and all the data collected about states and regions and all of that. This is one of those years where the two of them are agreeing in their long-term forecast, and that long-term forecast is, unfortunately, that it's going to be dry. So we'll see, but that is the long-term forecast as the Farmer's Almanac put that out today, meaning that they and the climate scientists agree that all of the available data and the most likely trends based off of what we've seen before and what we've seen so far this year is that we're going to be kind of locked into a cycle of relative dryness compared to what we like to see and what we normally see here in Utah. So, if you don't like shoveling snow, and the forecast says we aren't going to get any till the end of December at the earliest, you'll be happy. If you like water and full reservoirs and a lack of, water restrictions and things like that, as long as we're all being responsible, then this might not be your year. Again, these forecasts are projections based on the most likely outcome. They are in no way, shape, or form a guarantee. And it is a wait-and-see kind of thing. We'll see if, who ends up being right on this, I guess we should say. So, one other item to start off with here. We haven't talked about this a lot, but I think it's very cool. One of the reasons I think it's very cool is a long time ago, we had a veterinarian here in the studio, and we were talking about about Cache County working on developing its own, housing facility, I guess you'd say, shelter for animals, and an adoption and a vaccination clinic style setting. And the veterinarian that had been brought in to consult on that was our guest here in the studio. And we're talking a little bit about, veterinary medicine and the world of veterinary medicine. And he just casually mentioned that mental health issues and even suicide rates for veterinarians were much higher per capita than other medical professions. And we got talking about that a little bit. And the guess on all of this is just there's a general shortage. If you visited your veterinarian here in Cache Valley recently, you probably noticed that they're very, very busy. And sometimes so busy that it causes you to gripe a little bit. I'm lucky. I have known my vet for so many years that I can be annoying and get away with it. And so I get decent service. But, I realize not everyone is in that. And a lot, you call your vet and they can't see the family pet who's ailing with this or that for a week or something like that. That's a direct result of basically what is a veterinarian shortage. And it's not just in Cache Valley or Utah, it's Intermountain West. So something that's going to help with that a lot is USU's new veterinarian school. And Utah State University finally has welcomed its first class. They will compete a doctor of veterinary medicine. And when they do this with the first class, they do something called a historic ceremony that takes place. It's called a white coat ceremony. And this is something that's done in medical professions with a first class of any new school. And Utah Statesman has some great photos of all of this as it played out earlier this week. But the white coat ceremony took place at the Eccles Conference Center. Back on August 16th, they announced that the class of 2029, that's when they'll graduate, was ready and would be arriving soon. And then they played out this ceremony yesterday, and they were all handed their white coats in preparation for the fall semester. And again, this is the first class of Utah State University's School of Veterinary Medicine. And I'm surprised we didn't have one of those. It's an ag school, but we didn't have a dedicated School of Veterinary Medicine at Utah State University. Dr. Dirk Vanderwall, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, PhD. He's the dean of this new school at USU, the USU College of Veterinary Medicine. And he spoke at the event and talked a little bit about why this milestone is such a big deal. He said that this is an occasion in 118 years in the making. He explained that in 1907, the Board of Trustees at what was then known as the Agricultural College of Utah, wasn't Utah State University yet, they actually approved a plan for a doctorate of veterinary medicine, a degree at the university, but they were denied basically because they didn't meet a national requirement that stated veterinarians needed to be on the faculty of such a school. So USU, and back in 1907, this was proposed, but USU didn't have any actual veterinarians on faculty to teach at the school, or didn't have enough, and so they didn't meet the national requirement to actually run such a college within the university, and so they were told no. And that was in 1907 at an ag school, believe it or not. Vanderwall said at the ceremony yesterday, as a result, the idea for a veterinary college at the time ended up just falling dormant. And 70 years before it was brought up again. In 1977, a man named Dr. Kent Van Kampen and colleagues tried to revive the effort to get a veterinary school and college at Utah State University. And they did it through producing a report called The Feasibility of Establishing a School of Veterinary Medicine in Utah. And the report, Vanderwall said yesterday, they determined that Utah would not need a School of Veterinary Medicine until sometime after the year 2000, but that just looking at the numbers, basically, and population data and guessing at how many pets and farm animals are going to require service on the average year, they said Utah can probably make it till about the year 2000 before this becomes a problem. That Utah State University or some university somewhere in the state, USU just being the best choice, is not actually producing veterinarians locally through an education program that can allow them to begin working in the state of Utah the minute they graduate. They said you probably only make it to the year 2000 before that starts to be a problem. And Vanderwall yesterday said their report in 1977 ended up being very prophetic because that's about when it started to become a problem. So back in 2012, Utah State University joined what is known as the Washington, Idaho, Montana, Utah Regional Program in Veterinary Medicine, and that allowed a certain type of degree. Aggies could get a doctorate of veterinary medicine by studying at USU for half the degree, but then they'd have 2 years into their education program, they'd have to transfer to Washington State University to finish. And so since 2012, you could get a veterinary medicine degree through USU, but you couldn't stay at USU the entire time. So Utah legislators finally, 10 years after that, 2022, the success of that program, that shared program between USU and Washington State with students bouncing back and forth, the success of that convinced the legislature this was something that needed to be funded, and they did. In 2022, they opened the funding to start the official Doctorate of Veterinary Medicine program at Utah State University by creating this new college. Associate Dean at the college, Dr. Helosia Rudigliano, I think I'm saying her name right, she also spoke at the ceremony, and she explained the white coat ceremony. She said, this is more than an article of clothing. When you give these to the inaugural class of a college of medicine of some type, this tradition, she said, this white coat that we're handing you today represents it's a representation of the trust that society places in you, the responsibility that you now carry, and the commitment to ethical and compassionate care that will guide you through our studies and your careers. It's a reminder of the oath you take later today that you will serve your patients and their owners and the broader community with integrity, respect, and empathy. And Vanderwall said that USU's Doctorate of Veterinary Medicine class of 2029 has 42 students, and receiving over 300 applications. 27 of those students are Utah residents, 15 non-residents, and he said we're pretty excited about this. And again, this means that with the by the way, there's also a new building that goes along with this. You can see the construction right now, actually, at 1400 North and 12th East, that corner of the Logan campus. That building will become the dedicated veterinary medicine education building. Right now, the students will be operating out of a lot of the ag science classroom space and other facilities, but they will get their dedicated veterinary medical education building when that is completed, which is expected to be next summer. They'll complete that. And then at that point, Vanderwall said they'll be able to double the number of students in this degree field. So right now, again, 42 students in the inaugural class of USU's new veterinary medicine school or college, and they'll be able to up that to about 80 when the building is finished. And they expect that by 2030, they might be at triple that. So pretty cool stuff. And again, that means more vets in Utah. I mean, that's the short and the sweet of it. And that's the goal, of course, of doing this locally, growing them locally. So very cool stuff. Kind of lost in all the excitement of classes starting, but a pretty big deal, especially if you're a pet owner and have noticed that your veterinarian most likely seems a little stretched thin and stressed. That could be changing soon. Well, within a few years. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Hey business owners, are you frustrated with your workers' comp rates? This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. As an independent auto owners agency, we work with multiple carriers and will give you options. Our experienced agents are ready to answer your questions and help you navigate these options. Let us help you find the workers' comp policy that's right for your business. Call us today, 435-752-0101.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When you take a walk around your neighborhood and notice all the things that make it feel like home, one thing might be a little harder to notice because somewhere tucked in that neat row of houses is hunger. Over 30 million Americans don't know where their next meal is coming from. At Albertsons Companies and Safeway Foundations, we're on a mission to provide 1 billion meals by 2030 because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com. Let's break the cycle of hunger together.
A new era has begun in Logan, Utah.
My team is tough. They're resilient. They've embraced the expectations. And again, the cultural part to me is first.
Head coach Bronco Mendenhall and the Aggies look to make some noise in the Mountain West.
Touchdown, Utah State!
Join us Saturday. The Aggies host UTEP to open the season.
Pregame begins at 3:30. Kickoff is at 5:30. And postgame and Aggie call immediately follows the game. Utah State football is back on News Talk KVNU, the home of the Aggies.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Not sure what happened there. Apologies for the cold start. Jumping right back in here, though. This was reported on a few days ago, CashValleyDaily.com, and I just wanted to provide everybody with a little bit of an update because we had a lot of questions that day. For those who missed it, city officials have issued a controversial, they're usually not controversial, but this one became controversial. Logan City officials issued a conditional use permit for a residential treatment facility in the kind of swanky Cliffside neighborhood in Logan. And there is a bit of community backlash to this. The neighbor's objection, it appears, isn't really with the facility itself or its location, or at least on the surface, that's what they're saying. But according to residents, including a local attorney representing them, and we'll get to that in a second, they object to the way that the decision-making process played out. So this is officially legal at this point. They have filed a request for a temporary restraining order against the city on development, on authorization of this conditional use permit to allow a treatment facility, a residential treatment facility, that would be located in the Cliffside neighborhood. When we talked about this, there were a few details about the actual request, other than the news that they had made the request, but we have those details now, and it's interesting. So, according to court documents, this is targeted primarily. I mean, they have to name someone when they go to court. So the litigants in this case, asking for the restraining order in court against the city, are going after the community development director, Mike DeSimone. And according to court documents, the community development director for Logan City authored an August 4th city memo in which he explained waiving Logan's maximum occupancy limit it's 3, by the way, of unrelated individuals residing in a single dwelling. And they waived those for this conditional use permit and the requirements that are also required by the city of the lawsuit, the request for the restraining order claims that they waived the requirements for a public hearing on this prior to issuing a conditional use permit. And they cite the U.S. Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. DeSimone wrote that those laws make it discriminatory to take public comment and involve the public in a decision that is generally technical and inherently administrative, especially where public clamor may be motivated by stereotypes of the disabled or based on ignorance or prejudices. So basically what the city is saying, or what DeSimone is saying, is that they went about this a different way because of concerns of how the feedback might come. That they could end up in a situation where the city, this is the explanation, that the city, citing again the Utah Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, a federal law, that the laws make it discriminatory to take public comment and involve the public in a decision, again, that is inherently just an administrative decision. And they were concerned that this would basically, that any backlash might end up running afoul because of, quote, ill-conceived stereotypes of the disabled or based on ignorance or prejudices. The attorney, Chambers' clients have responded, also administratively, by petitioning an appeal with the city before the city's land use board. And now this news that they've also responded legally with a request for a restraining order. And we found out that was filed First District Court on August 6th. So a hearing on the city land use appeal is actually slated for September 15th, so a ways away. The property in question is roughly 1200 East Ridge Drive area. It's a pre-existing, nothing new will be built. I have no information here on this, but I'm guessing that to turn this into a residential treatment location, there would be some remodeling going on inside. But they're they're planning to use an existing 3-level home that currently has 7 bedrooms and 3.5 baths, and it's listed as roughly a 4,000 square foot home. And the company behind this, Finding Hope LLC, their plan is to house up to 12 individuals suffering from a disability associated with debilitating substance use disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders, anxiety, and depression. And they would be housed and treated at this home, which would become a residential treatment facility. Charlie Schill at CashValleyDaily.com was able to uncover some more on this. City documents indicate that the residential facility will house women ranging age 18 to 70 who suffer from, one of these aforementioned disabilities that is also tied to some form of substance abuse, which is sadly very common, and are seeking treatment on a voluntary basis. They would be housed there. And that the application, Finding Hope, indicated that it would not accept individuals residing at this location in lieu of confinement or as part of court-ordered treatment. So this would be purely voluntary residence, not court-ordered, not part of some jail or prison sentence. And residents in the area are upset. And again, they're claiming that what they're upset about is not the idea of the facility itself in their neighborhood, but that they object to the process. There was no public hearing process that played out around this. And then again, the city responding saying, well, we didn't do this because, one, it's just a conditional use permit is just generally you don't have a huge public hearing process around a conditional use permit. That's usually an administrative debate for the council, and then you can be at the council meeting to have or to offer feedback or input. But the council in the end decides on something that is a technical and administrative decision. And DeSimone's right about that. And he said we didn't go above and beyond to host a public hearing because we were frankly afraid of running afoul of non-discriminatory laws, federal and state, by some of the commentary that we had. They had reason to believe that some of the protestation would run afoul of those laws, get the city in trouble maybe for even hosting the public hearing. And that has happened in other places before. So I don't know any more about this. I know we've got a lot of people asking if there is more, but again, the latest news is just what I've told you, and that there has been an appeal hearing set for 3 p.m. September 15th at Logan City Hall. But other than that, no new dates or anything like that have been announced. The local attorney, again representing the group, adds that city officials, in their opinion, admitted in this memo from August 4th that they eliminated the public process to silence the community. The city is saying, well, no, we just wanted to avoid a very unpleasant public hearing, and that when it comes to administrative decisions like this, we aren't required to have a public hearing. And by unpleasant, again, the city is saying that they had reason to believe that a public hearing would turn into a hate fest, people, hating on those with disabilities. I don't know a thing more about this. It is strange. A lot of it doesn't make sense on both sides. But for those asking, that is basically the news we have at this point. We're, of course, keeping an eye on this, and if we learn more, you'll hear it on our airwaves first. But if you'd like to read through the same details I've mainly covered here and a few that I've skimmed over, big story on this by Charlie Schill, published last week at CashValleyDaily.com. Cliffside residents seek temporary restraining order against neighborhood treatment facility. I've linked to that on our Facebook page as well. And we'll be back after the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. As you've mentioned, a Utah judge has ruled that the state legislature violated voters' rights when it approved congressional boundaries that split up Salt Lake County. Now, the 3rd District Judge, Diana Gibson, said that lawmakers had bypassed the independent redistricting commission established by voters and drew maps that unlawfully favored Republicans. Now, her ruling requires the legislature now to redraw the maps before September 24th, ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Now, the ruling is a victory for the League of Women Voters and other plaintiffs who had filed the lawsuit. Now, in a statement, the Utah House Democratic leadership team called the verdict a victory for the people of Utah who had demanded fair representation. Meanwhile, Senate President J. Stewart Adams and Speaker Mike Schultz released a joint statement expressing disappointment with the decision. They said that they are reviewing the ruling and considering their next steps. They also say they remain committed to what they say is upholding the legislature's state and federal constitutional authority to draw congressional districts. In other news, Logan City officials are inviting residents to a public meeting coming up next Tuesday night to provide an update on the Canyon Road Improvement Project. Now, the meeting will be held at 5:30 September 2nd in the Municipal Council Chambers at Logan City Hall. Now, the project team will present on improvements for Canyon Road between 600 East and Herms Inn. Officials are also seeking citizens' input on proposed landscaping, sidewalk widths, and other roadway design elements. Now, although there will be no public comment period during the meeting, a survey will also be introduced to gather feedback. And Utah's most recent measles cases have been discovered in southern Utah and Washington County. 2 school-aged children have tested positive for measles, and their schools and parents have been notified of potential exposure. Now, those unvaccinated or immune compromised and potentially exposed August 21st are being encouraged to stay home for 3 weeks. Now, Utah Health and Human Services reports that these are the first new cases of measles in Utah since July 21st. Now, symptoms of measles can include a high fever, cough, runny nose, watery eyes, and a rash. Now, complications, though, can include breathing problems, pneumonia, brain swelling, seizures, hospitalization, and even death. Now, exposed individuals should call their healthcare provider before going to a medical facility for evaluation to ensure they are up to date on vaccinations. Well, weather-wise, going to continue to see some scattered showers as we head into the overnight hours tonight. Temperatures going to stay down to right around the mid-50s before we get back into the mid to high 70s for tomorrow. Chance of rain will continue and then start to decrease Thursday and into Friday. It looks like by the weekend we'll see some sunny skies again, although we have had the sun breaking through the clouds on and off this afternoon. And weather this hour brought to you by Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning. They want you to feel the love as they give away and install 5 new furnace and air conditioners to families in need. You have until the end of this month to nominate a family. Just go to mountainvalleyhvac.com and click on the Feel the Love tab. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News headlines. More of KVNU's For the People show coming up next here on KVNU.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Police are searching for a gunman in Minneapolis after a mass shooting today at a high school. Police say 1 person was killed and 6 others died, all believed to be adults. Police Chief Brian O'Hara says it happened outside Cristo Rey Jesuit High School, and the shooter opened fire.
We believe, based on the manner that this shooting occurred, that at least 1 person standing in that group was clearly targeted.
The motive still unknown. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy giving states 30 days to comply with English language requirements for commercial drivers, or he's threatening to pull federal funding from states who don't make that deadline. Israelis held a nationwide protest again today, demanding the return of remaining Hamas-held hostages in Gaza and an end to the Israeli government's military operation in Gaza City. It follows a report by a UN-backed organization finding famine has taken root in parts of Gaza. I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Hey there, quick question. Wouldn't it be nice if your home stayed cool in the summer and warm in the winter without your HVAC working overtime? With Cardinal Spray Foam insulation, it can. They use an insulation that seals the gaps you didn't know you had, keeping air in, comfort up, and energy bills down. I guarantee you'll feel the difference. Plus, you could qualify for a $1,200 tax credit. Call 755-5012 or look them up online. Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, this is Ty with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks closed higher on Tuesday, hovering near all-time highs as investors balanced cautious optimism with concerns over a renewed policy shock that could challenge the Federal Reserve's independence. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 136 points to 45,418. The Nasdaq gained 0.43% to 23,525, and the S&P 500 advanced 0.41% to 6,466. The rally was broad-based, with most sectors finishing in positive territory, while only a few defensive sectors posted declines. Utah stocks were among the standouts, with Zions Bank Corporation up 1.58% and Extra Space Storage advancing 0.21%. In fixed income, the yield curve steepened. The 5- and 10-year Treasury yields edged lower, but the 30-year rose nearly 3 basis points, reflecting investor unease around political developments tied to the White House and the Fed. On the data front, reports were generally encouraging. Durable goods orders exceeded expectations, with core durable goods rising 1.1%, pointing to renewed business investment as political uncertainty eased. Consumer confidence dipped only slightly, though more respondents noted difficulty finding jobs. Meanwhile, the house price index fell more than expected, reinforcing signs of a slowing housing market. Looking ahead, while the economic calendar is light, developments related to the Federal Reserve will remain in focus. Prolonged political pressure could weigh on the Fed's independence and have lasting effects on the long-term economic outlook.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Contact Morris Columbus Travel to book your Disney Cruise Line vacation at morriscolumbus.com.
This is Cache County Fire District Chief Brady George. Due to ongoing fire dangers, fire restriction orders have been increased to Stage 2 restrictions. These include the following acts. Building, maintaining, attending, or using fire or campfire is prohibited, including charcoal grills, pellet grills, or ash-producing fuels. All other restrictions remain in place, including no smoking except within an enclosed vehicle, trailer, or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area that is paved or free from dry vegetation. No cutting, welding, or grinding metal in areas of dry vegetation. No operating a motorcycle, chainsaw, ATV, or other small internal combustion engine without an approved and working spark arrestor. No discharging or using fireworks, tracer ammunition, or other pyrotechnic devices, including exploding targets. Cache County Fire District urges all residents and visitors to use caution during outdoor activities. Preventing wildfires and protecting the beauty of Cache County is a shared responsibility.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. We'll talk more about the redistricting announcement, what happens next, coming up in hour 2. I'm actually waiting for a text back from a lawmaker. There's not going to be a decision today, as I mentioned when we talked about this at the start of the hour, on how the legislature responds, but they had to know this was a possible, that Judge Gibson's ruling against the state when it comes to the congressional maps and the gerrymandering. I mean, let's call it what it is. They had to know this was a possibility, so I'm hoping I can get a leak, basically, on what we might see happen in the legislative session. As I mentioned at the start of the hour, there have been some temper tantrums from a couple of lawmakers. Senator Dan McKay absolutely lost his mind this morning, calmed down later and sort of apologized. But the legislature does not like to be checked by the public or the courts, and that's concerning to see this attitude so prevalently for many years now. But coming up at 5 o'clock, we'll run through the whole timeline, both how we got to today, and yesterday, I guess, and that ruling from Judge Gibson, and the timeline going forward to what happens now. Gibson has basically given the state until October to have new maps for the congressional districts here in Utah, and there are appeals that the state has not exhausted yet. And so we'll run through the whole timeline leading up to yesterday's announcement for starting roughly in 2018, well, technically 2010, up to what happens next in the upcoming legislative session and more. So we'll go through the whole timeline at 5 o'clock today at the start of hour 2. This wasn't the only court-related news in the last 24 hours. I'm actually surprised this one isn't getting more discussion here in Utah, because it is a win for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But it's been an interesting one to watch, because I understand here in Utah, people have a tendency to roll their eyes at these lawsuits and and see them as just, an angry ex-member of the church. And that's likely the case. But this one intrigued me because it raised some interesting questions about, some debates we're having over money and religion in general, and taxation along those lines. In fact, the legislature, interestingly enough, is going to take this debate up again in January in the 2026 session. Over a rule here in Utah that exempts religious organizations and other groups from paying city-imposed taxes and fees that help pay for roads. And the argument is, well, those same groups, they use those roads, they depend on them, they should be kicking in too. And the legislature is open to that, actually. The legislature has signaled that they might agree with that. It didn't pass in 2025, but we'll see what happens in 2026. Anyway, so this particular lawsuit that actually started way back in 2018 was in that same area. But what really caught my eye is what I felt was a pretty big reach on the part of litigants, in that in 2018, a group of people, including named specifically was former Latter-day Saint Laura Gaddy, and a few others. I think there were 4 others that signed on with her. They sued the LDS Church, claiming that they sued under a RICO accusation. They were using RICO, the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, normally something we all associate with mobsters and organized crime, right? But they were actually citing Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act provisions and rules in this lawsuit. And the lawsuit claimed that the church had, claimed in the lawsuit, they said by the church misrepresenting some of its history and misusing tithing funds, that they were guilty of basically influence peddling. That they were extracting money from members without being honest with members about where that money was going, and because in the lawsuit they claim that there were liberties taken with the history of the church, they were able to do so with confidence of those donating through the tithe. Basically, is what we're talking about here. District Court Judge Robert Shelby said in 2023, no. And the Gadian group appealed. So District Court Judge Robert Shelby in 2023 said, you're not even coming close to making a case here, and said no. He ruled in favor of the church, and then immediately Gadian crew filed an appeal, and it headed to a 3-judge panel that exists within the 10th Circuit. And late yesterday, around 8 o'clock at night, our time, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals handed out a ruling, and the 3-judge panel upheld the 2023 Federal District Court ruling that rejected this lawsuit entirely. And again, the lawsuit purported that the Church of Jesus Christ had, quote, propounded false beliefs and misrepresented its own history and practices in order to defraud members of donations. Gene Scher, an attorney who filed a friend of the court brief on behalf of the church in this specific situation, was also joined by, this is where it got interesting, this is what caught my eye, also filing in this friend of the court brief was the National Association of Evangelicals, the Jewish Coalition of Religious Liberty, and the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. They joined in on this one because they said there is a real question of religious liberty and autonomy in this. And that's kind of how the judges yesterday came down. All 3 judges on this 10th Circuit panel. Now, there's one more step in this, just to say quick. Gadian crew have an option to now request that this move from the 3-judge panel to the entirety of the 10th Circuit. That's their last option, and there's no news yet of whether they're asking for that. But so this might not be over yet. And at times, the 3-judge panel rules one way, and the full district court, 10th Circuit, rules a different way. So right now, though, the 3 judges found that in their ruling released yesterday, they all 3 agreed that church autonomy doctrine shielded the church from any RICO claim that was alleged in the lawsuit, and that Gaddy and the others who signed on with her failed to, quote, sufficiently describe acts that would support a RICO claim, i.e., they couldn't say, they couldn't describe a situation in which influence peddling was being used to defraud people of money, specifically. So Judge Allison H., I don't know if I'm saying this right, it's spelled E-I-D. Judge Allison H. Eid, I think, wrote the majority opinion, and in that opinion she wrote, "We hold that church autonomy doctrine bars plaintiffs' first RICO theory because it improperly requires adjudication of ecclesiastical questions." Translation, you're asking us, under the RICO laws of the United States, to determine whether or not ecclesiastical doctrine or belief is legit. You're asking a court to weigh in on whether or something that a specific religion or church claims as part of its history is true or not. That's not a question for a court. That's a spiritual question. Now, the judge doesn't say it that way. She says it with legalese. She says because it, quote, improperly requires adjudication of ecclesiastical questions, namely the truth or falsity of religious beliefs. On plaintiff's second RICO theory, the judge wrote, we need not decide whether the church autonomy doctrine applies because plaintiff's complaint fails to adequately allege the requisite causal link between the church's alleged misstatements about its own history, about how it would use tithes or any donations collected, and therefore justify the plaintiff's alleged injury, i.e., the plaintiffs in this case, the litigants, have not supplied evidence convincing to the court that even if you accept their claim that that they're defrauding members by not being honest about the church's history in order to keep them paying their tithe, the court says even if we accept that, which we're not, see that first paragraph in the majority opinion, but even if we did, you haven't connected the dots enough to show that there is any coordinated or organized, which is key in a RICO allegation, corruption or influence peddling or intentional decision to defraud members. So this was a pretty scathing ruling from the court toward the plaintiffs. They also continue, we hold that, while they didn't apply the church autonomy doctrine to the specific tithing portion of the lawsuit's claims, Gaddy's lawsuit's claims, Judge Gregory Phillips issued a concurring opinion outside of the majority opinion to declare he didn't think church autonomy doctrine should apply to tithing cases, period. He said, we hold that this defect renders implausible the necessary causation component of plaintiff's civil RICO claim that they were injured by reason of a RICO violation by the church, to the extent it is based on a fraudulent use of tithing funds theory. They thus have failed to state a claim upon which relief may be granted. So again, Gaddy and the others are saying that they complained about church teachings about its own history, claimed that was then defrauding, under RICO rules in an organized way, members of their own church, and that is why how they got to the alleged RICO crimes, and the court said no. You can't ask us to adjudicate the truth or falsity of religious beliefs, one, and two, you have to show that there was some sort of attempt to intentionally defraud in an organized way the members. And no, they're just collecting a tithe like all churches do. It's been an interesting 20